Hello, welcome everyone to a new and exciting episode of Learn Ed. We are so fortunate and excited to have three amazing individuals here from Red Clay with us today. First, we have our Educational Support Person of the Year, Ms. Clare Lawrence, here with us today. Let's give it up for Ms. Lawrence.
Thank you.
We also have our Behavioral Health Person of the Year, Mr. Eric Pizinni, who's here with us today. Eric, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we have the shy and reserved Teacher of the Year, Ms. Terri Pruit, who is here with us today. Let's give it up for Ms. Pruit. So we just wanted to take an opportunity. Again, Red Clay is such an amazing place, and behind this amazing place are amazing individuals. And each of you have received the distinct honor on behalf of your colleagues in the district to, again, be recognized as distinguished individuals. So we want to take this opportunity to just have a brief discussion about your role throughout the district, the work that you do on behalf of the community. But before we get actually started, we want to take a look at your announcement videos. So first we will start with Mrs. Lawrence's video.
I was very honored to be nominated. I was very surprised because I never thought of myself as, one that goes above and beyond. So, but I'm always willing to help everybody here and in other buildings wherever they need me. And I enjoy doing that. It seems like it's all part of my job, and so to help the teachers and the staff to run the school as best they can, then they can teach the kids better. So, try to do as much as I can for them.
Coming back, so Ms. Lawrence, how did it feel when you were announced as the Educational Support Person of the Year? Were you surprised when you walked into the room and you saw everyone clapping for you?
Definitely surprised. My principal knew a way to get me down to that pool. He said, "There's a bat flying around in the pool. You have to get downstairs." He knew I would get down there and try. And so I was so intent on going down there and getting that that's all I was thinking of. And he just opened the door, and there everybody was. And so I was very surprised.
Yeah, and again, everyone there was excited, exciting opportunity to again recognize you for all of the efforts and work that you do, not only on behalf of McCain High School, but the district as a whole. And then next we have Mr. Pizinni, and your video and the announcement. Was a bit of a challenge going into it, but first let's just take a look at that announcement video.
Yes.
So we're all here to congratulate you, and there were over 120 nominees in the district, and so we are just thrilled to be able to announce Eric Pizinni as our BHP of the Year, and that you'll go on to the state recognition process, and it's well deserved because you do such a phenomenal job, Eric.
I am shocked and flattered that I was nominated and win this award. I'm happy that the state has shifted to this recognition for behavioral health professionals. I'm glad that my work as a school psychologist is being recognized here and throughout the state with the work being done. And I'm just shocked and excited, and yeah.
And so again, we saw this video, we saw the highlight. Were you surprised when you actually walked in the room? Because there was a bit of hard work on behalf of Dean Bolden to actually get you down there. Were you surprised, or did you know?
I was surprised, but I also could feel the buzz in the building, so I knew something was going on. So I knew it wasn't a typical I'm being called to the dean's office to have a conversation about this or that going on, but I wasn't sure what it was. So when I found out what it was, I was definitely shocked. I know there's many people who I felt is really deserving of this, so I just was kind of honored to be recognized in that way. So.
And definitely, again, it was a fitting honor, and I think, from everyone that not only recognized you for it, but voted and that was there to celebrate you, definitely recognize the hard work and effort, especially coming off of or during the time of COVID. We saw a lot of needs around the behavioral health realm for not only our students but our staff. So again, I think a definitely fitting honor to have you recognized for that behavioral health staff member of the year, so person of the year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And then Ms. Pruit, the teacher of the year, which again was definitely a tricky proposition or process to do the announcement, because we had you come down and we'll take a look at that video and then just get your thoughts after.
I'm still processing how it feels to be the District Teacher of the Year. I feel honored. I feel blessed. I feel like it's because of kids that I'm here today, and my kids are the most important element to me in all of the things I do. I'm not usually speechless, but it means a lot.
So we were able to see your video. Were you surprised at all when you walked into the theater?
Yes, I was absolutely surprised at the honor and everyone being there. I was suspicious, as you said. Dean Bolden, very busy guy. When he's like, I need you to do this for me, you just go. So it was kind of like an odd time, and I was a little uncertain as to exactly what was happening. So I was already walking in there a little bit nervous, and then it was really great that just so many people were in there, and it was so exciting and so such an honor. And happened to be that the HB band was there rehearsing, so I was like, "You brought a band for me?" Like, everything.
We had a band roll out for you and roll out the red carpet.
It was really great.
Yeah. Well, good. And again, we had the opportunity to see your videos again, but this is more importantly an opportunity to learn who are the people behind, again, the work and the videos. And so, Clare, we'll start with you. If you don't mind, just sharing a bit of your experience in terms of, how long have you been here in Red Clay, and just give the community a little bit more insight as to the role and the work that you do.
Okay. I've been in Red Clay for 30 years. This is my 30th year. And I really enjoy my work. At McCain, I'm all about, let's all work together and get the job done. And my people want to do that. We take a job and we can just, get it done no matter what we have to do, because we want to make it comfortable for the teachers, if they ask us to do something to help them out, furniture, anything, just to fix the room up or whatever. And so we want to make it, an easier job for them, and then, more comfortable for the kids too.
And it really shows through, whenever I have the privilege and pleasure to visit McCain, you always see and get that feeling that it's an all hands on deck approach. All means all, and you serve as an integral leadership role. And again, for the community to know, you work with the custodial staff, but you serve as a leader in that building. And oftentimes, especially in education, we'll look at the hierarchical as, okay, well, you have the building principal who, leads the building, but you're an integral part of that leadership team. And how do you see that role, like you said, in supporting the staff, supporting the students, helping to truly have an impact on everything that's positive within McCain?
Well, and I'm kind of honored that they ask me at facilities to go to other schools too, to help other chiefs out, just to give them a little guidance, because sometimes the chiefs start and they're not unsure of what the job is and that sort of thing. So I'll help anybody out that I can. I want to make them succeed, because I feel like I have succeeded. So that's just what I try to do.
And you truly have.
And
we're so appreciative, again, of not only, you seeing and receiving that honor, but more importantly, the work that you do, like you said, throughout the district, and really elevating that role, because, again, our chief custodians, our custodial staff, they serve an integral part to, Red Clay being this amazing place. And so you, Mr. Pizinni, we talked about all that we've had to endure, going through COVID, the pandemic, the stress, the strain that it's put on our students, our families, our educators alike. And for you, now that we're in this post-pandemic reality, to receive this distinct honor and recognition You know, share a little bit about the man behind the role, right? As you put on that Superman cape and you're there fulfilling the needs of all the other stakeholders within the school community. You know, what are some things that you do for yourself in terms of self-care? A little insight as to who you are as a person.
So this is my 11th year now in the district, and I think one of the benefits I've gotten is being able to be in certain places and seeing different things throughout the district too. Working at different schools like HB, working with autism, working with CAB, and now in my current position of working more around all the social emotional learning of the district. I think one of the main pieces is collaborating with people and hearing where people are at. This mental health crisis we know was around before COVID is there. And I think it just kind of highlighted some of those needs. So being able to work with the families, do trainings with those, be able to set up some professional development for them and for staff, and then just sitting down with the kids themselves and being able to chat about where they're at and meeting them and seeing them. Yeah. Sometimes the kids may not feel seen, and it's hard to when you're in a class full of students and maybe these ones are better at this and that.
Right.
So when they have that opportunity to feel seen and heard, then I feel like they can kind of get respected in that way. As far as my own kind of self-care practices, I would say one of the things that has helped me that I started during March 2020 is I've really kind of delved a bit more into some meditative practices and thinking about mindfulness. And that's helped me kind of put myself in the here and now versus thinking about what may come or thinking about what has happened. You know, reflecting on those, being okay with my current emotions, like knowing where I'm at a certain place and feeling where I'm at and moving forward from there has been helpful for me. And it's something that I've brought to students and gotten some positive feedback from as well.
And not only just the students, but the staff members alike. I think when you embody and you're a model, the ability to be present in the moment, to feel whatever it is that we're feeling, we see that come out, and the recognition, you know, and again the support that colleagues actually benefit from. Mm-hmm. And I know last year, as you indicated, you just transitioned to a new role within the district, but you were at CAB last year with our Teacher of the Year, Ms. Terri Pruit. So Ms. Pruit, how would you say this honor being the District Teacher of the Year? Because you know every building has an educator or Teacher of the Year that gets nominated, and then you go through the process. But you're representing the district, and actually in a week or so, we'll be representing the district at the state level with the opportunity or goal to be recognized as the State Teacher of the Year. So how has this recognition and award been impactful to you?
Well, I think first I'd like to comment on Eric and Claire, because I've been fortunate to work with both of these people in different schools, and I've been in Red Clay for nearly my entire career, and I've been at this over 23 years. And they are both the epitome of, you know, in their roles and what they do. So it's been such a pleasure to work with people who do different jobs, but we all work for kids, and we all want the same, you know, we all want kids to feel good and safe and secure in their school environments, and we want to feel secure around one another as adults. And it's a community where none of us work in isolation. So that's why, you know, the Teacher of the Year honor, I mean, it's absolutely an honor, but I feel like it's almost a little bit of a misnomer, because we all, you know, we totally do this job together. Like, no one stands alone. And you don't get through the days by being in your classroom and just talking to kids all day. Right. We just have such strong support systems in our buildings from all the staff. So it's great to be a part of something and to know that you can give back to your other
and spoken just like a teacher, right? The humility and not often wanting to put yourself out in the front, right? And it's definitely a collaborative or team effort. But there's the old adage, the cream rises to the top. And you know, this is a distinct honor that each of you have received because your peers see the value in the work that you do and how you show up and you're present, or you're willing to go above and beyond. And look at, and as we were talking off camera, there's the idea of how you've been here for 30 years, but you're still just as committed, you know, in year 30 as you were in year 1. And it does take that collaborative team effort, but definitely an opportunity to show that, you know, again, Red Clay is this amazing place, but it takes amazing people to make it such. And in that collaborative effort. So I want to take this opportunity, you know, obviously in my role as a superintendent, and having 3 distinct, you know, highly recognized professionals across our organization. Let's pull the curtain back a little bit and really just delve in and have some dialogue around, you know, the positive things that you see within our system, but ultimately how can we ultimately look at this notion of continuous improvement and what can I do, or how can I in my role help not only support you as professionals, but the Rec Clare as a whole and as a collective, and give you an opportunity to whether it be ask questions of me, or let's just have this open dialogue and discussion about where we see the district heading, and then ultimately how we can tap into your respective leadership skills, departments, or areas to be able to continue to have Rec Clare on this positive trajectory where we see it currently going. So, Clare, let's start with you. Because I think too often, my dad worked in the facility side of the educational world, and it's oftentimes the forgotten or the unseen, right? People just expect the lights to be on, they expect the building to be clean. Yeah. You come off of summer cleaning, and we see all of the I tell everyone 2,700,000 square feet of building space that has to get cleaned in this district. And you run the risk of having the broken window effect, right? Where if they see things that don't look, clean, don't look bright, don't look vibrant, then most often people will tend to disrespect that environment. Yes. What can we continue to do? We currently have a certificate of necessity, for the state to really look at upgrading our facilities. What do you see us doing as a district that we do well, but more importantly, some areas where we probably can do a little better job of improving to support our professionals, but more importantly, bring our facilities up to speed?
Well, as far as the support people like myself, I'd like to see more training for the chiefs, because sometimes you kind of feel like they're being set up for failure. They take the job, but they don't really know what it's like. And so at Red Clays, that's just the way it's always been done, that now you're a chief, and go ahead and do what you want to do. But I think they need more training, and they would be more confident. And even if you just shadowed someone for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, just to kind of see what it's like. Right. And then I think you're making stronger chiefs, and they really want to take care of the building, and they want to keep things running the way they should be. A lot of the buildings are very old, and they really need a lot of. As I've gone around to different buildings, I'm surprised at how
we have one of the we have one of the oldest in the state, with AI Middle being built in 1894. So that goes to show you again in terms of again, all clean, safe, and secure facilities, but we're definitely aging.
Whatever you have to work with, you just keep it running and keep it clean now. Until you can have the upgrades made and that sort of thing. But
So we'll definitely make note of making sure that those who we put in positions of leadership, that we don't set them up for failure, and that we give them every opportunity to succeed, and that starts with quality onboarding and training. So
yes,
that's
I think that's a good idea, and especially with the firemen too. They're taking care of the HVAC system, and so that's very important. And a lot of them don't really know how to work it, like the maintenance guys do. But I can get it running until they get there. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think is important.
And troubleshoot those problems.
I want people to be confident to be able to do that.
Exactly.
So.
And Terri, how about you? Just in terms, as you indicated, you've taught in multiple schools. You've seen it from a wide range of educational perspectives. We talked about, again, off camera, when we were coming up during a certain period of time, we went to school without the internet. Now, not to feel like we're dinosaurs, once dinosaurs walked the earth. But this idea of technology-driven society and students kind of, as a parent of a middle schooler and a high schooler, they're attached to their devices. So how can we not only just embrace, where our students are, but continue to hold high expectations for them, understanding that principles are principles. Life skills are life skills, and there are certain qualities that, when we say we have to have soft skills, that I feel students should be hardwired with, regardless of the field that they go in, whether it's post-secondary, they go off to college or into the workforce, through our portrait of a graduate, that they're set up for success. So what's some advice from your perspective as a top-notch educator in our district that we can learn from as a district as we look to support the district as a whole?
For students or
for both
staff?
Creating cultures and environments where everyone can thrive, because that's what we're ultimately building, our communities. And I know Eric touched on that, right? How do we show up in that we're present? How can we as the adults be present of mind, but also help our students understand that they need to be present of mind as well? And just in terms of your experience, how can we do a better job as a district in doing that?
I think that technology is our reality, and you know, like any advancement, it has its advantages and disadvantages. And you know, the older generation, it's always like back in my day, you know, and things change, and they're changing faster and faster and faster.
Yes.
So we really have to let go of some of the ideologies we have around, you know, what makes work ethic and a classroom work and someone be independent and self-sufficient, because technology is part of that for kids.
Right.
And they need to be able to assimilate that into their daily lives. So, you know, having the thought that we can remove kids from their devices, I think is unrealistic, and I think that is something that ultimately is not supporting who they are as learners.
Well, they're born with it, and
Yeah.
I'll just look at, you know, my mom. I don't know if she has Google alerts on me or what. You know, she's in the Washington D.C. area, but whenever there's a Red Clay story, she's texting me. She's on Instagram. She follows our YouTube channel. She follows Twitter. So again, there obviously are, like you said, benefits and advancements, and it's something that, you know, it's a part of our everyday life. And so.
And we have to teach them how to use them as resources. We were even talking in class today about, we have Grammarly Premium, which is a phenomenal program, and you know, people say, well, that's cheating. It's not.
No.
It's your resource.
It's a resource.
You all have it.
Exactly.
Like, and if you don't use it, and Claire does when you're in college,
Right. Shame on us.
yeah, so we really need to equip them with mindsets of, you know, what's healthy usage, what's usage that helps promote their own learning and development, as opposed to leaning on something because it does it for you.
And you just said something critical, mindset. How can we again, embrace a growth mindset? And I know sometimes it becomes cliche, you know, that, oh, you have to have a growth mindset. And Eric, you indicated, again, this idea of being present and not looking back and not looking too far ahead. How can we, you know, use the lessons learned, you know, from the past to inform the decisions that we're making going forward? To have just that growth mindset, right? To build the small successes into whatever it is that we're doing, to keep folks energized and motivated, because the work is hard. You know, and currently, I'm, you know, in my role, typically, I hear it all the time, right? Very infrequently, what I say, you get the kudos or the shout outs, because I think the squeaky wheel, the proverbial squeaky wheel, gets the oil, and we're in a society right now where, you know, whether it's Ian that's going to, you know, batter the Florida coast right now, it's always something negative. It's to the next headline that kind of deflates a lot of the or overshadows the positive. So how can we use that growth mindset just as a district to build on the many successes that we have, to keep folks energized about not only coming to work, but embracing the work that we have to do as a district?
I think that's a good point you're making with it, because when I think about this idea of growth mindset, the idea of not being like fixed, it reflects both in the students and in the staff at times. We know that it's a hard world these days, and thinking in the mindset of the students, they have their own expectations they set on them, so we have to teach them now, as they're supported to fail, to build some of that resiliency, that it's okay not to be perfect, because there's this idea of perfection sometimes through the social media coming through and things like that. And then on the flip side of that, like making sure that we're supporting the staff to be able to be in a place where they're feeling comfortable and helping the students. There's so many things going on for the staff members in the district that it's that idea of like, if we don't make sure that they're supported, then we can't support the students as well. So making sure we're supporting the staff and the students, and then that third tier of the community, making sure that not only are we building that growth mindset within our students and staff members, but how are we doing that with families? How are we bringing them in? And I think it's just that outreach piece, recognizing where they're at, respecting where they're at, and then giving tools to them as well that they can grow with to help get different perspectives sometimes on it. So.
Yeah, can I?
Sure, go
chime
right
in?
ahead. Yeah.
So with social emotional learning at CAB, we've had this new program this year where in our enrichment period, which is a 30-minute period every day, all the teachers roll out a lesson, and today's was positive self-talk. And you know, and the research behind how you frame something, you know, it's 70% successful versus it's 30% of a failure, and people will always want to hear about the failure, the 30%. So it was totally hokey. You know, I did it with seniors, and then we were picking our affirmations. It's like, I'm worth it. And we were making a joke about it. But then as the day went on and we'd see each other in the hallways, they'd say, I'm valuable, Mrs. Pruitt. You know, it stays with them.
Yeah.
They might be joking about it, but they realize that that outlook can change the day, especially when you're all espousing the same feelings and positive energy.
And that's the sense of community, right? And that's how you build community, where everyone, that sense of belonging, but more importantly, has that self-efficacy where they're not only being supported, but they can take that risk to say that I am valuable or I am worth it. And so, you know, again, going back to Clare, point you had made earlier, feeling a part of the team and actually being seen as an integral part of that team, but as a leader. What would you say, or who would you say, has impacted you the most when you think back on where you are now, the successes that you've had, and who's maybe the one individual? And I know oftentimes we go to who was the teacher that impacted you the most, but who was the one individual that when you think back that really was influential in your life, that kind of motivates you, that helped you see the value in yourself, that now you're pouring into other people in such a positive light?
Well, you know, you learn from your parents. I've learned from my parents the work ethic that I have. You know, was my dad went to work every day no matter what, which was kind of crazy. But you know, he had appendicitis and went. I don't know why, but he, you know, he worked hard, and you know, Mom stayed home with the kids then, and then as we got older, you know, she went to work. But so as I started working, then I kind of had the same work ethic, and my sisters and brother all have the same, and we just. You're going to do your best because you're getting paid by someone, so you're going to do the best that you can for whoever you're working for, you know. And so, and you want everything to come out, you know, your day to be as good as it can be. I mean, you know, you want a positive outcome, of course, but so I try to instill that in my guys too as I work with them, because every day's different for us. You know, somebody brings us something that's broken. Hey, let's see if we can fix that. And it's not, you know, my way or the highway. It's what do you think's going to work? What do you think's going to work? You know, and we'll come up with ideas to fix something. We'll try and fix anything we can. You know,
well, it shows.
And we enjoy it.
Yeah,
we really do.
There's a building that I still get lost in every time I enter it. But at least I know I'm getting lost in a clean, safe building.
Good.
So
Good.
Follow the end.
Follow the
Just
end.
follow the end.
Good.
Right? Down, all of that. That's exactly how it works.
How about you, Eric?
I feel like I have to echo a little bit with my parents. Watching how they worked as I was growing up, like my dad worked multiple jobs. My mom first was stay at home, then she went to college working nights, and seeing how she worked and how my dad worked to raise me and my siblings, it instilled that idea not just of the hard work, but that idea of growth. So like seeing, say, like my mom decided to go back to school to better herself, even though we know all the things going on, shows that we can continue to grow at any point in our lives. So I think that has helped me kind of think in that mindset of we're not fixed where we're at per se, and through that hard work, allowing yourself to fail, pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, keep moving. I think watching them in my experience really helped me kind of get to where I am. So I would have to kind of agree with how Claire kind of mentioned.
So again, that goes back to community, right? And when you talked about the broader community, really the value that our parents instill in our students to help us kind of elevate, you know, where they want to see their children go. So, you know, to all of our parents, to all of those in the community, you know, don't sell your role short in terms of, you know, what you do and what you still in to our scholars and to our students that ultimately make our lives, I wouldn't say easier, but supportive in what you're actually trying to do and what you want to see in your children.
I love meeting parents.
Yeah.
That's one of the best parts of the job,
Yeah.
and just seeing how much they love their child and how proud they are of their child. You know, no matter what they're doing throughout their day in school.
And it's one of the things that makes and it makes Red Clay again truly an amazing place. You know, I get the fortune of you know, seeing the community as a whole and going into different stakeholder groups and different parts, whether it's in Wilmington, whether it's in Hockessin, Newport, Stanton, Ellesmere, you name it. And everyone wants that for their child. And I think we're grounded in that as a district. And obviously nothing's perfect. But I think we do a better job than most. And I'm confident in saying that we're supporting, again, that familial, that family, that community mindset, and really helping everyone grow. I mean, if you look at the diversity in the programming that we have, whether it's through our autism program, our early years program, the career pathways that we have, School of the Arts, you know, we're the only district in the state that authorizes and charters, you know, 2 high schools. So there is diversity in programming that meets the diverse needs of the community. How about in your respective roles? Are there any questions that you have of each other as you see each other in that light? Is there something again that you might, Claire? I know you and Terri have history, in working both at McCain. And I actually have some as well. I did coach at McCain in my early years. Working with, Mr. Pruit, when he coached basketball, and he was also assistant coach on the football team. So it's always a great day to be a Highlander.
Oh yeah.
But is there any questions that you have of each other? I think too often we're so busy, fulfilling our roles. But as we pull this curtain back, is there something that you might often wonder from a teacher's perspective, or a school facilities or maintenance perspective, or more importantly from a behavioral health or support staff? Eric is full of knowledge in terms of, not only helping students, but, helping all of us be in the right frame of mind. Is there anything that you often wonder, or is there a wonder that you have?
I do, because my room is busy, and it's never set up the same way. And I often think, like, when my custodian comes in at the end of the day, like, what was she doing today? Like, she is a mess. They are a mess. And I feel so badly, and I'm like, should I just put it in rows, or you probably learn a lot about teachers by how their rooms are set up and what's in them. At the end of the day in particular.
And then we'll say to them, we think this might be easier for you, but it's actually easier for us.
Yes.
So it's, whatever we could do. But
and having students be a part of that equation. I think one of the things when I think back to my classroom teaching experience, we always wanted to be the classroom where the night custodial staff had to do the least amount of work.
Oh boy.
So whether that was we sweep up or pick up behind ourselves, as they kick the cans, as they say on the evenings, and so that the night crew wouldn't have to be overworked, and then in the day crew, when you come in first thing in the morning, everyone's in that system and in that routine. So I think for our educators to kind of embrace and realize what our custodial, maintenance, and facility staff actually go through to maintain a building, I think sometimes, again, gets overlooked and taken for granted. So that perspective of mutual understanding in terms, like you said, what are they dealing with at the end of the night? So there's a lot that we could do. But again, I think as a district, we're also challenged with a lot of the national and state labor shortages. Just actually had the Department of Labor, Secretary Hubbard, reach out to us because the state is actually having a hard time filling positions. And those are positions like accounting, for example. They can't find accountants for the state of Delaware. So there's a huge void, but a big part of, I think, what we need to do as a district as we go through some strategic planning is to really look at where are the opportunities, because we also want to keep them here. I think too often, they'll leave and go and move on to somewhere else, where we want to keep talent. Delaware is uniquely positioned. We're 2.5 hours from 3 international airports. You can hop on the Amtrak and be in New York in 2 hours. You can be in DC in 90 minutes. So you're uniquely positioned just south of Philadelphia to really show, I think, all that, not only that we have to offer as a state, but also as a district. And I don't know, Terri, being an educator, or Eric, from your perspective and really working with students, how can we do a better job of showing them all that's possible, and not kind of putting them on this one-track kind of mindset that the only success is the attainment of a college degree. Now, granted, there's going to have to be some continuing education, but, community college, again, when we look at our demographics, college affordability is another issue. But you can get into a paid internship or apprenticeship and really earn a nice living. So what are your thoughts on that topic?
I think for me, it starts with the messaging about it and recognizing, like you were saying, the signing day and things like that. I think that kind of stuff is important and needs to be kind of continually broadcast at a wider frame, because I think there is this just underlying thing, not just district, the state, just nationwide, about the idea of like college equals success, when that's not necessarily the actual equation. Right. So it's being able to kind of go against the grain and have those conversations and portray that regularly as if it's normal, the sense of like normalcy of this is normal, this is good. to recognize these positions because they're necessary, they're important, often well paying in many areas. So like these are great careers, and if we don't shine the light on those careers, then it's like they don't exist and they go off into the shadow. So it's really just shining that light and just making it feel as if it's the status quo, as if of course this is normal. That's kind of how I would see that.
And having more professionals in our building, coming in and talking to kids about what they do and what their lifestyle is and how their passion and why they love what they do, and just kind of emphasizing that ultimately you want to love it. And some of us just don't love school.
Right.
So like we're not meant to be in school for the rest of our lives, and that's perfectly acceptable.
But we're always learning, right?
We're always learning. We're always learning. Just I guess I mean like an academic.
No, truly, exactly. That's the point.
Magnet schools were, a new and upcoming thing 15, 20 years ago, but now they might be the way we structure our systems, because we do need to support people going into different areas and specialties, and they need to learn those skills in school. You need to have animals around if you want to work, in veterinarian or something like that. Like you're not going to see that at CAB. So it's important that we value that different schools can offer different programs, and that any kid who wants to go into that would be accepted there and valuable there.
I know I had a bit of a follow-up for the conversation we had, if that's okay. I don't want to change it too much. You were mentioning about like the labor shortages, things like that. And we know that in education, this is one of the challenges we're facing within the staffing realm. So I guess one of my general questions is around what are ways that maybe have been thought about or directing to kind of keep the staff that we have and to make it more enticing to come to Red Clay, because we know of the shortages with all the professions that are sitting here.
And so again, being the largest in the state, and again, having the most diverse programs around the educator, teacher shortage, and again, that's across all employee groups. And I think sometimes the biggest recruitment strategy is retention. And so for us, is how do we focus, as you indicated, on the staff that we have now, to have them help promote the profession. We know pay is a factor, but it's also working conditions. It's also the environment that you come to work with every day, and how do we ultimately look at the intangibles and the opportunities around growth and development. Is there a pipeline, so to speak? Is there an opportunity if I come in as a reported time, custodian, and I earn a full-time position, do they see the opportunity to progress and ultimately become a chief, or a fireman within a building? So we, as a district, obviously can do, I think, a better job of highlighting that. But I think it's moments like these, and really having people show up as they are, and treating our employees as people first. Again, we all have lives outside of our professional role, but we don't detach from those that life. Come to work as as you are and who you are. So I'm not just a superintendent. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a friend. And so it's how do we collectively, as a community, allow our employees to show up in that capacity and just be valued as people first. So that's the ultimate goal. And then just creating programs where people have input and insight. It's not this kind of transactional or hierarchical approach to, because I'm the superintendent, I know best. I know that if I have a question or if I want insight, I can go to McCain and touch base with Clare to say, hey, we're having this problem. So the insight and information that you gave, that you're giving now, that's data, that's information to help us improve as an organization. Because we do know that I liken the job market now to the housing kind of market maybe a couple months ago if you were selling a home, where bids were coming in crazy. And right now we see staff members who have the opportunity, because there's so many vacancies, to kind of shop school districts and kind of find, or just leave the profession altogether, based on lessons that they've learned over the pandemic around the quality of life. And I think that's very critical as to how can we tap into helping provide and promote a better quality of life, for our employees and our respective employee groups to be able to have you, actually go out to share, at that next dinner party or holiday party. Because, I go and people are like, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I work in education. It's like, oh boy, like no one really wants to, it's like you have the plague almost sometimes. And really bring the value back to I would say the one thing that everyone in society has in common, which is the value of a teacher, or the value of an educator, or the value of a support staff member, or, you know, a school just in general. And how do we make that experience positive so that the next group of students who are currently sitting in our classrooms will aspire to want to be, you know, the next Ms. Pruit, or the next Mr. Pizinni, or the next Ms. Lawrence, to be able to want to come back and work, if nowhere else, for Red Clay. So, all right. So if there are no other questions, we want to take this opportunity to wrap up. Any last parting words? We appreciate you coming in and, you know, joining us for this edition, an episode of Learn Ed. Again, you are the best that we have to offer. So are there any parting words or final remarks that you want to share with the community as we close out? Start to my left, teacher.
We're starting with Claire every time. You know, it goes back to passion. I love what I do. And every year I'm blessed to get a new group of kids. Well, they're not always all new, but
right.
You know, come in my room and we get to start fresh. And you don't do that in other jobs.
Yeah.
You don't get to start over every year, and you don't get to give the people in your room. You don't get to get the people you work with an opportunity to start over, and our kids get to start over every year. And like to know you have that power is not power. To know you have that ability is overwhelming.
Right.
But critical.
Yeah.
It makes what we do so important and necessary.
It's something that we I think shouldn't take for granted.
Right.
Yeah, the
Right.
impact that we truly have. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
that. Eric, how about you?
I think it comes back to something I feel is a theme for our conversation, is that idea of like community. Like we operate together as one, and like the respect that I have for the teachers, for custodial staff, for every member that is an educator, like we can't do it alone. And recognizing that and having that humility in ourselves that I can't do this myself and I need support, and not being afraid to do that, because when we work together, that's when the biggest success comes. When we're recognizing our strengths, and when we're recognizing the strengths of others and asking for that support, is where I feel like that's when things really kind of come together and mesh, and that's when things run smoothly, and just kind of exactly what we're doing.
I got that smooth vibe from you
right
there.
there.
Is it always smooth?
No, but that's the best way to make it as smooth as possible.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
When we're all together with it.
Right.
Well, how about you, Claire?
Well, I enjoy coming to work every day. I
Yeah.
really like what I do, and you're part of a bigger picture, and so and you kind of feel like I'm needed there. Everybody's got their job to do, and so if everybody does it, then everything runs smoothly, and so that's what I think.
And I think that's a fitting vision for our district, right? Ultimately we want Red Clay to be the place where you want to live, right? As you said, a community where you come to learn, and more importantly, where you're excited to work. And so we want to thank you all for joining us. It's such an exciting group. And thank you for joining in and tuning into this edition of Learn Ed. Take care.